Hello and goodbye, the show where we tell you about a thing and whether or not you should actually buy that thing. Today, that thing is Helldivers 2. Do you remember Capcom's Lost Planet? I barely do, but Helldivers 2 was quick to bring that likeness to mind, more so than any memory I had of the original Helldivers back when PS Plus gave it out and we all played it for a time or two. Do you remember that? Probably less so. Dangerous conditions and even more dangerous enemies. Descent into a hostile environment and no assurance of survival. In fact, assurance of demise is much more probable in this satirical approach to space-led, gun-faring democracy for Super Earth. Inspiration from the likes of Starship Troopers is proudly evident in the tone, and if everyone does their part, each mission will probably, most likely, almost definitely be a success. Maybe. To that effect, this game will not be easy. Despite its joke-heavy intro and goofy voice lines being shouted out in the midst of combat,
how about a nice cup of liberty?
Helldivers 2 is actually a pretty deep shooter, certainly in terms of the mechanics it offers. And I was not expecting that level of focus. I thought it would be, in every sense, a cover shooter with lots of explosions. Instead, while explosions are plenty, cover is no option for swarms of alien bugs and huge robots with pinpoint accuracy with a rocket launcher. You will run. You will dive onto the ground and desperately fire, only to find your gun has emptied. And you will call down support in the forms of supply drops and airstrikes in the hopes that it will give you even a brief moment of breathing room. Which is only made more hectic when, to call those things in, called stratagems, it requires you to input a PS2 era cheat code-esque combination of directional inputs while you fight for survival.
Requesting orbital strike.
And then you also have to make sure you don't stand directly where these pods are going to land. That will hurt. After running the brief and still humor-driven tutorial training course, I jumped straight into some missions alone. The first missions you do will be on easy, and completing a mission on a difficulty will unlock the next, more challenging level of difficulty. Easy missions aren't just easier in terms of stats either. These missions will be simpler, while higher difficulties will ask more complex objectives, or will take you to even more dangerous environments. Solo is certainly an option, but unless you really hate yourself, I would suggest sticking with some other players, at least until you have some better gear on hand. The missions take place on various planetary surfaces, and I've currently only seen 4, as these 4 are the only accessible ones right now. But each is unique, and has its own flora and fauna hazards, and can even throw weather conditions and time of day complications into the mix. There are seemingly a ton of planets available in the game, but this all depends on where the Galactic War is at that moment in time, which is where the game's true live service nature comes in. No shortage of official game screenshots and trailers will show you that there are deserts, there are mountains, there are harsh and horrid locations, and there are beautiful planets with deceptive dangers. But to see those, you'll have to wait until the Galactic War is going on in one of those sectors. When selecting a mission, you'll see the planetary map broken into sectors surrounding Super Earth. Your one mission: make sure no Terminids or automaton forces make it to your glorious home planet. These are represented by orange sectors for the Terminid infestations, and the red sectors for the automaton presence. Select a sector for either, pick a planet, and join your fellow comrades in taking on missions to push back the enemy in the name of democracy. Currently, I've only played alongside strangers via the Matchmaking, which had a rough first day when the game launched. But since the second day, I've had a much smoother time with matchmaking and haven't run into any issues myself. In fact, as soon as I started playing alongside other Helldivers, I started loving the game even more. Dropping in, gearing up, pinging the map to plan a route, and fighting alongside other players cooperatively pulls you right into the action, and you feel like others have your back while you watch theirs. This approach is something I much prefer to PvP, working with others rather than against them. Between these missions, you'll be on board your ship. This is where you'll access the galaxy map, prepare for missions, and switch out your gear and loadouts. You can also upgrade your ship modules, which not only boost your chances of success, or just survival, but you can also unlock new stratagems, as these are cooled down from your ship when you're out and about in absolute mania. Call in new support weapons, automated turrets, or just a barrage of bombarding force from above. It's all here, waiting for you to choose it. As long as you have the supplies to unlock them, which means you'll need to explore.
There's something here.
Aside from the resources you get from completing missions, you'll also need to collect samples while out on a mission. If you have the time, that is. Missions have time limits, some of which may be much shorter, meaning you'll need to hurry along to your objective before extraction. Others, however, can take much longer, meaning you'll have the time to complete optional objectives, take out more enemy locations, and explore for some extra loot. Using your map, you can take a quick look around for unknown locations, and these might be ruins, remains of a previous Helldiver, or long abandoned outposts, all of which have the chance to hold ammo, stims for healing, and samples to collect. Planning your route on the go and finding as much as you can along the way is great practice, and you'll be able to ping locations and points of interest for your fellow Helldivers. Gear for your loadout, however, can be bought in a couple of ways. First, you can use medals that you earn from missions, milestones, and other objectives to purchase armor, weapons, emotes, cosmetics, and the like. These are on pages of increasing value, acting as a battle pass style way of unlocking extra gear, with new pages and sets planned for the future. The other way to purchase is with super credits. These can be found in small amounts or purchased using medals, but realistically, they're targeted as the microtransactional front. Luckily, the store is not so huge that you're missing out, and with ways to earn super credits in small amounts and use in-game medals for the majority of the good stuff, these purchases don't feel super imposing. For now, at least, but I would hope that it remains that way. After all of this, I did get what I was expecting from the game. A fun time. What I never would have expected, however, is to be thinking about it shortly after stopping, wanting to dive right back into hell with others alongside me. I can't wait to get better at the game, face bigger threats, and to see what planets this galaxy holds, and just what each planet will throw my way. I'm not one to often fall into multiplayer experiences, but even with a quickly resolved rocky launch, Helldivers 2 is a strong and careful foundation for the beginnings of a flagship multiplayer experience of 2024, and if it continues to carry itself into the years to come.